Hey everyone, what's going on? Jeff here from Films at Home, and in today's video I've got a really exciting comparison video to do for you. And we're not talking 4K, we're actually talking Blu-ray. We're going to take a look at the movie Nashville. This is a 1970s classic American movie from Robert Altman. It originally got a Blu-ray release over here on the Criterion collection, which I happen to have in my collection. And then it just recently got a new release on the Paramount Presents Blu-ray line. So we're going to take a look at both of these. We're going to compare Criterion to Paramount Presents head to head. I'll give you my recommendation on which disc you should go with, and if you own the Criterion, whether or not you should be double dipping and maybe selling off your Criterion to jump over to this Paramount Presents title. So I will say right off the bat that the audio for both of these releases is essentially the same. It's the same track. I couldn't find any differences, and so I'm not going to cover the audio here. They're both 5.1 DTS HD. They're both very solid. They sound great, but it didn't seem like there was any difference. So the biggest focus here is going to be on the visuals and the difference between these two transfers, and then I will talk a little bit about your packaging and your special features options, because that may change your thinking and may change your purchase decision as well. So first, let's talk about the visuals. And Nashville, it was shot in the 70s, 35mm, shot on film. You know, we have a pretty good source to work with. And when Criterion put out their Blu-ray release, they released this as a 2K scan. So at the time it was a brand new transfer, but it was scanned at 2K or 1080p essentially for Blu-ray. Now the Paramount Presents title, and all the Paramount Presents titles, have been scanned at least 4K, and that's the case here with Nashville. So it's a new 4K transfer completely from scratch from the original negative, which means we've got a different look and feel on the grain structure, on the clarity. We've got different color grading. It is entirely Paramount's own doing, and it is not the same transfer as the Criterion. So that's what makes this a very interesting head-to-head comparison. So it was immediately apparent to me that the Paramount Presents title I thought had much better color grading. The Criterion came off as a little bit dull. It was lacking some saturation, some brightness, some contrast. It was just a little boring looking. In this new Paramount Presents title, as you'll see here in a couple of these screenshots, the primary colors really pop a little bit more. The blacks are more black versus gray. That's a good thing. The reds are red versus pink. Everything looks a little bit more saturated, but also a little bit, and that could be a bad thing in some cases, but in this case I think it looks a little bit more natural because they haven't oversaturated skin tones, but they've brought other primary colors up to, you know, almost what I would consider an HDR level improvement over the previous Criterion. Now this isn't HDR because it's just a Blu-ray disc, but it almost looks like that when you compare them head to head, as if Criterion was standard range and this new Paramount Presents was high dynamic range. The color grading is much more favorable on the Paramount Presents title, in my opinion. Now you'll also notice in some of these screenshots that the clarity seems pretty close, right? The detail, the quality structure, the grain structure, it does seem pretty close to, you know, being roughly the same. But as I zoomed in and I started to take a closer look at some of these shots and really dove into the detail, it is pretty clear that the Paramount title in that 4K scan does offer superior grain structure, superior quality detail. Anything around the fine edges of people's faces or objects, it looks much better on Paramount Presents than it does on Criterion. So I would definitely give Paramount the edge there as well, which shouldn't be surprising given it's a 4K scan versus a 2K scan. So overall, just looking at visuals here, I definitely like the color grading better from Paramount. I like the detail, quality, grain structure. And the interesting thing here, if you want to really get into the tech specs, is that the Criterion disc, we're talking about bit rates now, and that's, you know, how high quality, how's the data in the transfer. It's measured in megabits per second. And I usually don't dive into that because I don't put a whole lot of stock in that. Something with a low bit rate could still look good compared to something with a higher bit rate. But in this case, you can see where the quality of the transfer differs down to that technical level. The Criterion release was averaging about 27, 28 megabit per second bit rate, and it was ranging anywhere from 20 on the low side to about 31 on the high end. If you look at the Paramount Presents disc, it averaged more about 33 or 34 and went anywhere from 30 on the low end up to 38, almost 40 on the high end. So it's got a higher bit rate, it's a much higher quality quality picture from a technical standpoint, and it definitely does show on the front end when you're looking at the visuals. So overall, I really do give the edge to Paramount Presents. I think it's a superior transfer versus what Criterion offered, and if I had the choice between the two, I would definitely be selecting this for my collection. Personally, I like to pick the one that looks the best. I don't worry so much about special features, packaging, and those things. I want to have the best disc in my collection. So for me, it's a no-brainer between these two. Paramount Presents takes it home. But there are some other considerations. So if you've been following my channel or you know Criterion Collection, you likely know that the Criterion Collection typically delivers, pretty nice packaging, which they do here, nice artwork, clear art case, everything looks great. And then they usually deliver more special features. So that's something to note. So although the visuals are better, audio remains the same, but the special features in the Criterion disc include an audio commentary with director Robert Altman, a documentary on the making of the film with all the different actors, screenwriters. It has 3 interviews with Robert Altman from different archival sources, behind the scenes footage, a demo of Keith Carradine performing his songs from the film, the trailer, and it includes a booklet in here with an essay by Molly Haskell. So that's the special features for Criterion. So over on the Paramount Presents, you do get their artwork, which I also like. You get this slip cover, which opens up to a poster, which is cool, and you do get a digital code as well as the cool clear slipcase. So very similar just in terms of your presentation from a packaging standpoint. But the special features on the Paramount Presents, there's a new featurette called 24 Tracks, which covers Robert Altman's Nashville and is a little, featurette on the movie itself. Then there's the commentary from the director, Robert Altman, and then there's theatrical trailers. So you're missing the documentary on the making of the film, you're missing the archival interviews, you're missing behind the scenes footage, you're missing the demo of Keith Carradine performing his songs, and you're not getting the booklet. So if special features are a big consideration for you, Criterion definitely has the edge there. In this case, when I'm comparing these two head to head, I have to go with Paramount Presents. It's just a much better scan all around. It still delivers a great package and it has a couple of nice special features, but it's that transfer that really sells me. I want the best version of this movie. And if that's what you're looking for, you're going to want to buy the Paramount Presents title. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys in making this decision. I think Paramount Presents is right now, I would say they are the best Blu-ray line. Now 4K, different story. There's people doing great things on 4K, but Paramount Presents is putting out the best catalog Blu-ray titles. And these 4K scans, honestly, some of them look very, very close to a 4K disc. They're that level of quality. And in this case, Paramount has outdone Criterion, which was the heavyweight for a long time when it came to transfers. And unfortunately, their transfer here was just outdated. It's an old 2K scan, and Paramount just Blu-ray by them. So I'd recommend Paramount. I will leave a link to the Paramount Presents title down in the description if you want to pick that up. That supports my channel. I would leave a link to this one, but it's out of print, and so you're not going to be able to get it on Amazon. You'd have to spend a decent amount of money, $60, $70 on eBay to pick this up now. So if you don't own it yet, definitely go with this for 20 bucks rather than spending 70 on this. So thanks for watching this comparison video. I was really happy to dive in depth on this. I know you guys wanted it. I asked you if this was something you wanted to see, and you responded, so here it is. Here was the video, and hopefully it helped you make a decision and kind of straighten your mind out when it comes to these two Nashville Blu-ray releases, because it's a very interesting comparison. It certainly was a heavyweight matchup between two big players in home entertainment, but I have to give Paramount the edge. They came out on top in this one. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you check out all the links in my description, ways you can follow me on social media. Make sure you're subscribed and like this video so others will see it. And as always, I really want you guys to stay safe and healthy out there. COVID's going crazy, so take care of yourselves. Be safe. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.